5 years ago, network engineering was a solid career. Good salary, job security, clear path. But in 2026, the ground has shifted. I'm not saying that network engineering is dead. It's not, because companies still need networks. The infrastructure isn't going anywhere. But I've watched dozens of network engineers hit a ceiling that they didn't see coming, stuck in roles that don't lead anywhere, watching people with less experience get promoted past them, wondering why their expertise doesn't translate into opportunities the way that it used to. I'm Suleiman. I've worked in tech for over a decade. I've seen this pattern play out across hundreds of careers, not just in networking, but also across infrastructure roles. After watching who gets stuck and who builds real career leverage, I can tell you exactly what's happening and what to do about it. But first, let me show you the trap that most network engineers don't see until they're already in it. Your skills are valuable. Genuinely valuable. Networking is the foundation of every single modern system. Every packet that moves, every connection that's made, every bit of data that flows. That's networking. But there's a difference between having valuable skills and having career leverage, because you can be excellent at your job and still be stuck. You can be the most skilled person in the room and still have no options. That's the trap. And I call it being locked. L is for location dependency, so you're tied to physical infrastructure that you can't take with you. O is for out of sight, so you're far from the business problems leadership actually cares about. C is for ceiling, so you're on a narrow path that doesn't branch into other opportunities. And K is for knowledge that doesn't transfer. So your expertise is locked inside one domain, one vendor, one employer. This isn't unique to network engineering. It happens to sysadmins, data center technicians, hardware engineers, basically any role where your work is tied to things that you can't take with you. Now, if you're a network engineer, you might be locked without knowing it. Now, let me show you what each of these looks like, why they happen, and how to break out, regardless of which direction that you want to go as a network engineer. Let's start with location, because this is the one that most people care about. Now, the nature of network engineering ties you to physical places: servers, racks, cables, switches, routers, firewalls. These things exist in buildings. So when something breaks at 2 a.m., someone has to drive there and fix it. That on-call rotation shapes your entire life. Those remote jobs, but you still need to live within driving distance to for emergencies. You still need to be on site for maintenance windows. I've personally coached and mentored plenty of network engineers who feel trapped by this. They want to move cities, but they have to find a new job first. They want to travel, but they can't be more than an hour away from that data center. They watch other people in tech working from coffee shops in Lisbon and wonder why they can't have that flexibility. Now, here is the thing that most people miss. This isn't just about lifestyle, although that matters a lot. It's actually about the size of your opportunity. When you're tied to a geographic radius, that radius becomes your market. That's your ceiling. So you're competing for jobs within the driving distance of where you live, not jobs anywhere in the world. A network engineer in London is competing against other network engineers in London. Someone whose skills aren't location dependent is competing against and for opportunities globally. That's a fundamentally different game. Now, some people are completely fine with that. They like where they live. They don't want to work remotely. The location constraint isn't a constraint for them. It's a feature. But if you ever felt like your options are limited by where you happen to be standing, that's location dependency doing its work. So now let's talk about visibility, because this one is subtle and dangerous. Now let me show you how this actually plays out. When I worked at a Fortune 500 company, our networking team wasn't even in the same building as everyone else. Headquarters had tech, product, customer experience. The teams working on problems that leadership actually cared about. And the networking team, well, they were in different location entirely, out of sight. And when layoffs came, guess who got cut first? And it wasn't because they were bad at their jobs. They were actually excellent at what they did. But here is how layoffs actually work. The leadership team meets, they look at the departments, and they ask one question. What's the revenue impact if we cut this team? And the teams closest to revenue, so product, sales, customer experience, technology transformation, they are protected. Not because leadership likes them more, but because leadership can directly see their impact on the business. The teams furthest from revenue, the ones leadership doesn't interact with daily, the ones doing the invisible work that keeps everything running, well, they are the first names on the list. But not because they're not valuable, but because they're invisible. And invisible people are easy to cut. This happens across all of tech and not just networking. Any role where you work is infrastructure, where success means nothing breaks, suffers from this problem. When everything works, nobody notices you. When something breaks, then you are the problem. There's no upside visibility, only downside. Now think about what's happening with AI right now. When the CEO asks, how do we use AI to improve our product? Who is in that room? When leadership is figuring out how to transform the business with new technology, where are network engineers engineers in the conversation. The people who get promoted, who build real leverage, who become indispensable, they are close to problems that leadership actually cares about. Revenue, growth, customer experience, and transformation. The question that you have to ask yourself is this: does your current role give you that proximity? Or are you maintaining infrastructure in a different building, hoping that no one notices when the budget gets tight? Now, proximity isn't just about politics. It's about survival. Here is something that most people don't think about when they're choosing a career path. Where does this actually lead? Network engineering has a ceiling problem. Not because network engineering isn't valuable, it is, but because the path is narrow. The branches are limited. Now think about what happens if you spend 5 years going deep on Cisco configurations. You definitely become an expert, there's no denying that. You know the system inside and out. Then the market shifts, or you decide that you want something different, or your company gets acquired and then the new owners use a different vendor. So where do you actually go? What doors do those expertise open? Now, I've watched this happen. Entire skill sets go from essential to an afterthought. Not overnight, because it's never overnight, but steadily. And then suddenly, everyone notices at once. Now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that traditional network roles declining about 3% over the next decade. Now, it doesn't sound a lot, because that's not a collapse, but it's not growth either. Meanwhile, adjacent fields like cloud infrastructure, security, platform engineering, DevOps are growing 15 to 25% annually. The investment, the innovation, the job creation is actually all happening in areas that build on networking but aren't limited to it. So your networking knowledge isn't useless. Far from it. But if that knowledge only qualifies you for one type of role, then you're vulnerable because you're betting your entire career on that one lane staying relevant and in demand. Some engineers are completely fine with that bet. They love networking. They want to go deep and stay deep, and that's a valid choice. But if you want options, if you want your skills to open multiple doors instead of just one, then you need to think about where else that knowledge can take you. And you need to think about it before you need the options and not after. And this is the one that ties everything together. Think about everything that we've covered. You're tied to a physical location because the infrastructure is physical. You're far from leadership because you're maintaining hardware in a different building or even a different city. Your path is narrow because your skills are locked to specific equipment and vendors. So there's a common thread here. Your work is tied to things that you can't take with you. You can't take a data center home. You can't spin up a Cisco switch on your laptop to practice or build a side project. Your expertise lives inside of your employer's infrastructure. And if you leave or they let you go, that expertise doesn't translate into something that you can just demonstrate independently. Now compare that to someone whose work lives inside code. Their projects are on GitHub. Their skills are demonstratable anywhere to anyone without needing access to proprietary systems. They can freelance, they can consult, they can build something on the side because their work isn't trapped inside someone else's building. And with all of the layoffs happening in tech right now, and there have been a lot, the portability matters. The ability to demonstrate your skills independently, to create your own opportunities when the job market tightens, isn't just a nice to have, it's actually insurance. So the question is, are your skills locked inside of your employer's infrastructure? Or can you take them with you anywhere? That's what being locked means. Location dependency, out of sight, ceiling, knowledge that doesn't transfer. 4 constraints that compound on each other that keep network engineers stuck. But here is the good news. Being locked isn't permanent. It's a situation, not an identity. And there are multiple ways out, not one path, but several. The key is understanding what you're actually trying to solve for. Do you want location freedom? Some paths give you that more than others. Do you want visibility and proximity to business problems? That requires moving towards certain types of roles. Do you want optionality, multiple doors that stay open? That requires building transferable and demonstratable skills. Or do you want all of the above? Because that's possible too, but it does require being strategic. So let me show you the paths that I've seen network engineers take successfully. And more importantly, let me show you why your existing knowledge gives you an advantage on each one. The first path is cloud engineering. And this is the natural starting point because of how directly your skills translate. Everything that you know about subnets, firewalls, and routing, that's VPCs, security groups, and route tables in AWS. You're not learning new concepts. You're actually learning new names for concepts that you already understand. So when someone new to cloud tries to understand VPC architecture, they're basically starting from zero. They have to learn what a subnet is, why you have a public versus private subnet, how routing works between them. You, as a network engineer, already know all of that. You've configured it on physical hardware. Now, the cloud version is the same mental model, but with a different interface. Add infrastructure as code with Terraform and some automation with Python, add CI/CD pipelines. And now you're building and deploying systems that scale globally. globally. Remote friendly, high demand, salaries ranging from 80K all the way to 150K, depending on experience and location. The second path is SRE, Site Reliability Engineering. This is where you move towards reliability, observability, and systems thinking at scale. Now, here is why network engineers are actually well suited for an SRE role. Networking is a huge part of how distributed systems fail. So understanding how services communicate, where latency comes from, how to debug a packet loss, and routing issues at scale, that's networking knowledge applied to reliability problems. SREs with strong networking backgrounds are very rare. Most SREs come from software development and then have to learn networking fundamentals on the job, and you already have them. The third path is platform engineering. This is where you build the internal platforms that development teams use to ship software. Platform engineering requires understanding networking, infrastructure, automation, and developer workflows. So here, you're building the foundation that other people build on top of. It's a much broader role that puts you closer to product teams, closer to business problems that leadership cares about. The fourth path is cloud security. And this might be the highest leverage option. Network security is already part of what you know. Firewalls, traffic inspection, segmentation, access control. Now in the cloud, those same concepts become security groups, NACLs, WAFs, IAM policies, zero trust architecture. Now the mental model is actually identical, but the implementation is cloud native and demand is enormous. Cloud security engineers command some of the highest salaries in this industry, often between 120K all the way to 200K or more. In fact, one of my students inside of my academy is a cloud security engineer making over $300,000 a year. Now, here is what I want you to notice about all of these four paths. Every single one runs on cloud. AWS, Azure, GCP. And that's where the workloads live. That's where AI runs, and that's where the jobs are growing. And what's the core of cloud engineering? Networking. Every cloud architecture, every VPC, every connection between services, that's networking. The entire cloud is actually built on concepts that you already understand. So you're not starting from scratch like most people learn in cloud, you're actually starting with an advantage. So the question isn't which one of these paths to take. The question is, do you have the cloud foundation that lets you choose any of them? And here is what building that foundation looks like practically. Firstly, get hands-on with a cloud platform like AWS, Azure, GCP. If you're not sure which one, go with AWS. It has the largest market share and the most job opportunities. Start with the networking services since that's your existing strengths. So VPCs, subnets, security groups, load balancers, Route 53, and you'll realize that you already understand 70% of it conceptually. So here, you're just learning the AWS way of doing things that you already know. Then you want to add Python. You don't need to become a fully fledged software engineer. You need to automate, script, and build tools. So start by automating something that you currently do manually. That's the fastest way to learn, solve a real problem that you actually have. Third is learn infrastructure as code. Terraform is the most portable skill because it works across AWS, Azure, and GCP. This is what changes you from someone who just clicks through the console to someone who can actually version control, repeat, and scale infrastructure programmatically. Fourth is build something real, not just tutorials. An actual project that you can deploy and that you can show. A multi-tier VPC architecture, an automated deployment pipeline, something that proves that you can apply the skills and not just follow these instructions. Fifth, document what you're learning publicly. LinkedIn, blog, GitHub repos. A network engineer who's publicly sharing their cloud journey stands out from hundreds of silent applications. All of this is free to start. AWS has a free tier, Terraform you can use, Python is free, it takes time and effort, but it doesn't require spending a lot of money that you don't have. And once you have that foundation and you've built some real cool cloud engineering skills, and you may even got your first cloud role, that's when you start thinking about specializing. Go deep on security, go towards SRE, platform engineering. The base that you've built transfers to all of them. Everyone asks the same questions about career transitions. They ask, should I leave network engineering? As if it's a binary choice. Stay or go. Keep your skills or abandon them. This is the wrong question. The right question is, how do I take what I already know and put it somewhere with more leverage? Now, your networking knowledge isn't the problem here. It's genuinely valuable. It's the foundation of everything in the cloud. The problem is being locked. Location dependency, out of sight, ceiling, knowledge that doesn't transfer. Now the solution isn't abandoning your expertise, it's moving it to a vehicle that gives you options. Because cloud engineering doesn't replace your networking skills, it actually amplifies them. It takes what you already know and puts it somewhere with more visibility, more flexibility, more paths forward. So don't become a static network engineer. Don't be the one whose skills are locked inside one building, one location, one employer, one narrow path. Take what you already know because it's valuable and put it somewhere that gives you options. So network engineering isn't the trap. Staying still is. As always, I'm rooting for you.